Anastasia, please.
Guadalupe Street Coffee House.
Yes. That's true.
And it was Jazz Poets.
All right.
So I do remember.
Cool.
I like to write. I know you guys do too.
A little bit.
One of the things I like to write is in the view of things that can't defend themselves. Went to a friend's birthday party, well, his daughter's birthday party, and she opened up a card from her grandparents, one from one side, one from the other. They both gave her $20, but one gave her a $20 bill, the other gave her a gift card. And she was a little upset and said, why couldn't both of my grandparents give me a credit card? And I felt for the bill. So I wrote just the bill. Labeled with a number at birth. Told my place, my self-worth. Stamped the G cause I'm from Chicago. Told I could never achieve beyond my designation. Due to the bounds placed on the value given to the color of my flesh. All I'm worth is face value. But I'm looking to buy my way to riches I could never afford. So I slip into birthday cards to buy cheap smiles to be exchanged for sweets to gap same teeth. I've hung from G-strings to be rolled between coke lines so I can't feel my face. Learned to fold my arms around sweet Mary Jane and hold her safe. Only to be bled on and laundered. Gifted and stole to be the last one counted on, lost and found by grubby fingers drinking for what it's worth. And I'm still trusting that God's absence is credit for payment in the sins of greed. Because the souls of my brothers, lying back to back by the hundreds, stack their value against currencies of turbulence. Splashing the sides of the whale to purchase wishes in exchange for their dreams. That's me. Just another percent tax to inflate this myth of trickles punching the masses. I've spent eternities in lined pockets. And quickly passed through the needs of homes, realizing the more you value me, the less time we will share. Well, so be it. But share me, spend me, pass me, just keep me in circulation. I don't want to coagulate in the bank being spent electronically. At least let me hide in the belly of a porcelain pig, sheltered from harm by the heart of a child, kept to treasure priceless memories of ice cream truck rides, or a day at the toy store being the change treasured after a wish is granted. A folded smile tucked away in the warmth of a pocket to be thought of fondly. Filling memories with these instances would fulfill fantasies of birthday money saved for what they are instead of for what they're worth. Forget me not, America. This country was built from the backs of my brothers. Don't turn us into a house of cards numbered to be taxed, thought of as a profit margin instead of as a population. We are accounted for at face value. Peace. I started saying that at the end of all my poems because I was afraid people weren't going to know when I was done. I didn't want to just stand there. And my intention was to just say peace and walk away. But I'm from Chicago, and to bite somebody who bit from his grandmother, at the end of all of his shows, Lupe Fiasco says, peace and much love to you. So when I got on there and I went to get off, instead of just saying peace, much love came out. And I thought, okay. And then when I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore, like a year later, I was told you can't do that. It's too late. You're the peace, much love guy. You got to say it. So I ended up with it. Like I said, I like to defend things that can't speak for themselves. As a kid, I heard people talking about how television was horrible, how it rots your brain, and all this other stuff. I mean, just how bad it is. And growing up, my parents taught us that it's called a boob tube because if you put too much into what it says, you're the boob. It's entertainment, it's background noise. Unfortunately, in some houses, it's a babysitter. But to say that it's a horrible thing in our lives is somebody who doesn't recognize it's there for entertainment. It's not an example. So to defend the television, I wrote Channel Surfing. plopped on the couch to treat my mind, to fall in line with these lies that waste my time. I'm tired of hearing about the social significance of television programming, claiming that the war at home will be fought on Sesame Street. And if we don't zoom into Mr. Rogers' neighborhood, we will never achieve law and order. Well, if the masturbatory antics of the electric hum elaborations emitted by this box have you bewitched in proclaiming, I love Lucy, even though you dream of Jeannie, please, give me a break. You have to face the facts of life. Different strokes for different folks. Not everyone has or even wants silver spoons to ease them through their growing pains. Because sometimes shared hardships strengthen family ties, and even though they may not grow up to be bosom buddies hanging on the Simpsons shirt tails, at least siblings won't be living with perfect strangers. Don't waste the wonder years smoking that Fraggle Rock. This Mag TV produces Friday night videos to keep Saturday Night Live in direct, entertained with good times about real people living just beyond the outer limits of the Twilight Zone. Searching the boondock for a guiding light as the world turns in this bonanza of gunsmoke. So get smart, and believe it or not, it doesn't matter whether you live in a house or in the PJs, or if your American dad is a family guy, or living single, or even a honeymooner on the Love Boat. Even if he's married with children to a desperate housewife, while harboring an alien named Alf who screams out, just shoot me, Webster, 30-something times a day because he will never know the flavor of love. And even if you couldn't convince my 3 sons that this old house was built for all my children, and it would take all of their Miami Heat to tell the tattooed stories of this little house on the prairie, even with that, TV is bad about you. And it only wants to know, are you being served? So cease the attempts at overhauling Fantasy Island and get a life. Understand that TV is not an infection in society. It is a reflection of society. Which explains all the animosity, because we break the mirrors that remind us of our ugliness. We call it a boob tube, and it says to leave it to Beaver because we both know that Sex in the City sells. And let's face it, everyone remembers what Linda Carter was wearing, but nobody ever wondered what Wonder Woman was wondering. And these DuckTales are sending me into a tailspin, and I'm wishing that the Super Friends, or at least Superman, or hell, I even settled for a couple of Rescue Rangers coming to save the day. Don't place too much stock in the entertainment we share. You have to remember that Father knows best, especially when Mother's there helping him with the answers. So in the future, I'm gonna have to ask you to remember that the TV dynasty of this millennium will have you grounded for life if you're tuned in instead of just watching. Peace. All right, they didn't give me a limit on poems, they just said 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit less and do a little more poetry. Okay? Princess. She makes me believe trees have feelings. That the sound of rustling leaves is truly laughter because trees are ticklish. And that the dirt on my floor isn't a mess, but a Pollock-style splash of the earth's expression. That the stars in the night sky are actually twinkles in the eyes of angels. She makes me believe fireflies light up with fairy magic. And that singing in the rain can only make the sun shine brighter, and there is no such thing as too much glitter. That butterflies have the power of rainbows, and every day is worth celebrating, and the curve and the smile can turn around even the roughest ones. That the silver lining on clouds never tarnishes, puppy dog tails never get tired of wagging, and that the gold flecks of a sunset reflecting in her eyes are hers to keep. But I need her to believe it. If somebody truly loves her, they would be satisfied with simply holding her hand. That chivalry is because he wants to do things for her, not because he thinks she can't. And that her time is precious. Not because it is limited, but because there is no limit to what can be done with it. I need her to believe that her opinion is always worth listening to, and any fool who thinks otherwise isn't worth the seconds of the day they waste by occupying it. That her love shines brighter than gold ever will. And her smile is worth more than platinum, and her eyes the most precious gems the world has ever gazed upon. I need her to believe in herself the way she believes in me. This is the other half of that, called Monster Tears. I left myself in letters written to a kid who sleeps under the bed because he said it makes the monster cry. Is he fearless? Nah. For he lives on the monster's fear, making him fearful and brave. He lies in wait, armed with a teddy bear and a smile for any boogeyman who dare tread in his cave. Try to tell him the whole that his fear could be useful, keep it near and dear to the heart, so maybe one day the fear of not trying will be the best part. This child, jumping the boogeyman, never afraid of imagination or anything it could bring, keeps tissues in his pockets to collect monster tears. He says their scent makes his heart sing. I find myself hiding behind him, playing lunar to his solar, hoping to reflect any portion of his shine, trying to pull tides in my favor. This child, who's yet to taste the fullness of life, reminds me each minute's a morsel to savor. Where did he learn that? He says, a broken finger healed over a bundle of nerves left him on an operating table inhaling vomit. So now he lives bright and vibrant, impulsive for the moment, telling me risk isn't just what you take, it's what you do. Yet he carefully chooses each comment. I try to follow his path, and even though his footprint could easily fit inside mine, I doubt I could ever fill his shoes. Big. I just want like a minute or two more, but one of my favorite things to do is improv. And one of the things we do at Poodle Slam is a thing called Project Mayhem. We get 3 words from the audience, and the poet has to do a poem improvised from those 3 words. And then if anybody thinks they can do better, they come up and use the same 3 words to do that. I'm not in the mood to be challenged. But if you do want to challenge me, you're welcome to do so. But in order for this to happen, I need some words.
Filibuster.
Filibuster. Dreaming. Filibuster. Ghosts. Anybody else? Any words?
Tortillas.
Tortillas. Rain. All right. Filibuster. Tortillas. Rain. Ghosts.
Dreams.
And dreams. I'm gonna try to get everything in there. Every time I tell her we need to break up, she doesn't shut up. Says, you can't finish this conversation till I'm done with what I'm saying, so you have to listen to me. And when I'm done talking, I'll let you know. And then she sits quietly. Tells me I could never fathom what it is that she's bringing to me. And I tell her, you gather all those up inside of you, and you try to pour it out onto me, drips and drops at a time, giving me one-word sentences, trying to keep me around for as long as you can, trying to saturate me with your thoughts. But I tell you, sometimes you have to realize that your world isn't real. And if you want me in it, you have to wake up before you can tell me something different. And if you want to be something positive in my life, make sure that your smile, that your voice is like clapping in the morning in my grandmother's house, waking me up with nothing but love. I mean, she rolls it out, pats it out, says it's got flour, but I know what's really in there. And if you want me to stick around and listen to you, then it's going to have to be that way. Because our relationship has passed away. It may roam around these halls and you think it's holding on to something, but I know better than that. I know that no matter how much you filibuster through this dream world, you will never be my morning tortillas. You can rain on me all you want, but this ghost will be exorcised.
It's amazing. We love them. Thank you, Anastasia. So now we're going to bring up Bernie.
Bernie has a bio.
She does have a bio. I was just going to kiss ass for a little bit. Is that okay? So we first met Bernie maybe about a year ago.
Oh, I don't remember this. I just remember it was cool.
About that.
This.
She came down, we were like, who's Bernie? She's at Gemini Inc. Who's Bernie? And we actually took the time to read up on Bernie. She's amazing and modest and major. But she doesn't act like it. But we definitely want to hang out around her and pick her brain and, I don't know, take something from her and hope we can learn and apply it, you know, in our writing, hopefully. Do you have the actual bio?
It really said it all.
Okay. She's wonderful. She's going to read for us tonight. We're thrilled to have her here. Miss Bernadette Smith.
I should warn you, I'm not a poet. I'm a short story writer. And I'm still deciding what I'm going to read. I have a short story that's very crafted that I love, and I thought about reading that. But then I have this new piece, which is, I'm not a novelist, and I'm trying to write a novel, so I'm cheating, and I'm writing it in vignettes. And so this is a vignette that technically is the first chapter of the novel, but it's still a work in progress. So I think I'd like to read that because it's brand new and it needs work, and I will be editing it some more. So if you hear it again, you won't recognize it, with any luck. So let me find it. Let me just go back some. Thank you. It's very, very different to the short story, which is, anyway, this is, I'm trying to get a novelist's pace, but still write like a short story writer. So it's always challenging. It's Wedding Day, it's called, the first chapter. Grace woke early. The previous evening, in preparation for today, she had put all the pots she could on the range, filled with water, so that the chill might be out of them this morning for boiling. Now she pulled a robe on over her nightgown, moved silently to the door of her room, her beautiful room. She would be sad to leave it. At first she shared it with her sister Eleanor, but Eleanor soon found a man and married him, and moved to York in England. She missed Eleanor, and particularly missed her clothes and her shoes, but she loved having the room to herself. It was a large room, and she had purchased a few pieces with the money she made as a dental assistant. A dressing table, second-hand, a soft blue candlewick cover for the bed, yellow curtains for the windows. The sun coming in through the yellow of the curtains in the morning never failed to lift her spirits, and created a soft effect on the big double bed in the centre of the room, which she now had all to herself. She blushed, all to herself. Well, those days would be gone, but she couldn't bear to think about that just yet, and so she left the room and walked silently down the hallway. There was no one about, there never was at this hour, her mother waiting until the last minute before rising to make breakfast for the lodgers, single railway men or men from the country in need of temporary housing. So she went downstairs and stoked the range, added turf and sticks to the few remaining embers, and a little coal, and opened the flue folly. She prepared the breakfast table, putting the cups upside down on their saucers, cloth napkins beside the knives and forks. As the range burned, the kitchen warmed up. She checked on the water, not yet hot enough. When it was, she would carry the hot water upstairs to the private bathroom. John Street had 2 bathrooms, which endeared it to her to no end. It was the best house she'd ever lived in, with large rooms, high ceilings. Her dad was still alive when they moved in here, and he loved it too. She and he would sometimes pretend to be toffs with their wooden floors, oriental rugs, and large fireplaces. "Pour me a Pimm's, dear, would you?" he would say. And she would pour him a red lemonade and put a sprig of parsley in it and say, "There you go, Papa, a Pimm's," and laugh at their silliness. They would end when her mother's large form entered, puffing at them and telling them that there was work to be done in the kitchen or the coal shed or the bedrooms. They'd never owned a house, but often Grace wished they'd owned this one on John Street. She lived in fear that one day her mother would declare that they were moving to another house, a cheaper one, even though they could afford to stay here. Why waste money on this big old rambling house, she'd ask. Grace's father had never resisted her. It sometimes drove Grace crazy. She knew he had loved this house too. It amazed her they'd lasted this long, but her mother was talking of finding another cheaper house to rent. It was a good time for her to be moving on. 5 years ago, just a year after they moved into John Street, her father drove the train as usual from Belturbet to Sligo on the narrow gauge rails. And when he stopped the train in the station, he sat back and quietly died. Like everything he did in his life, he quietly died. Just like that, his heart gave out. He was only 51. She didn't think her heart had unbroken yet, or that it would ever. She went upstairs to lay her clothes out for the day. She took the white shirt off its hanger and lay it on the bed. It looked vivid on the blue candlewick, a brilliant white, but delicate and soft. Then the suit, the beautiful baby blue suit. The skirt was soft wool, box pleated, and came to just below her knee. The jacket, also wool, buttoned up the front with a scalloped edge of the same material, running from each shoulder to the edge of the jacket, creating a gorgeous V that was so flattering she just couldn't wait to wear it. It had a thin belt that pulled it all together and no collar, so that the broderie anglais collar of her white shirt would fold over the edge and create a softer edging. And the coat, that was the clincher, her lemon wool coat. She put it on over her nightgown just to get the feel of it again. Soft lemon cashmere that wrapped around her like a blanket, with a belt that she pulled around and tied in a knot on her waist. She felt like $1 million, even without her bath and her hair fixed and her lipstick. She was different in that coat, a new woman, a woman who could reinvent herself as whoever she wanted to be, a woman in control of every aspect of her life, a woman who could walk down Main Street, head high, a woman who would take nonsense from nobody, a modern woman. It was scary how beautiful and wonderful she felt in that coat. A good omen for her future, she thought. It took a lot of coupons to buy the suit and the coat, and her bridesmaid's pink costume. All her friends and relatives rallied and passed their clothing coupons on to her so she could purchase a small trousseau. It was never going to be enough for a wedding dress. Only very rich girls could pull together the resources to purchase white voile or lace, often sent by relatives in America. But she couldn't be happier than she was with her blue and lemon outfits. They made her heart lift, filled with hope and anticipation. Her best friend and maid of honour, Mary, had married 6 months earlier in a white dress that had been her mother's, a dress that needed only a little letting out around her ample bosom. Mary laughed at that because large bosoms ran in her dad's family, not her mother's. Imagine, Grace, she said, getting your boobs from your father. And they both giggled at the images it prompted. Grace's mother had no dress from her wedding, no word of whatever happened to it. Grace was glad not to have to make any decision about her mother's dress. She could never have worn it, dripping as it would have been with the bitterness of the old woman's years of married life, her selfishness, her coldness. Grace felt it would have boded ill for her to have worn such a dress, the lace of it touching her skin and infesting it with the bitterness of a selfish old woman. She could not have borne something of her mother's to sit intimately on her on the day of her marriage, crawling up and down the skin of her arms, legs, breasts, the whole long day. Mary, her best friend since high babies, Mary of the understanding soul, the mad yearnings, the intuitive ways. Mary who made her laugh, who shared childhood and teenage fantasies. Loyal and gentle Mary, aghast at Grace's mother's funeral to attend Grace's wedding, vowing to persuade the woman to reconsider. Leave it be, Grace said, simply leave it be. For there was something right about her mother not attending, something that felt good about it, even as it could perhaps be perceived as a slight. The old woman had attended none of her children's weddings, refusing her children the attention they should have on this special day. With the option to attend Grace's wedding, she refused again, just as she had refused to attend Grace's brother's Pierce's a year previous. I can see where it needs editing. Pierce, who would be giving her away today, Pierce on whose arm she would be proud to walk down the aisle. Grace had asked her again last night, will you come tomorrow? And the old woman replied, I'll not. I have too much to be doing here. And that was that. Grace went back downstairs where the water was now hot enough and started to carry the pots one by one to the upstairs bathroom, into the old clawfoot tub that must be 100 years old already. She added some cold water and lemon essence, locked the bathroom door from the inside and lowered herself into the warm scented waters of the bath. She would lie here until the water got cold, with no one to disturb her at this early hour. She was careful to keep her hair out of the water, even though she had an appointment with the hairdresser for a set at 10. She had had it permed a week earlier to allow the perm to relax a little before her big day. When the water cooled, Grace emerged from the bath, a young Venus on her wedding day, thinking only of the arrangements for the day ahead. She had ordered the cake, and it was to be delivered directly to the hotel, where a modest reception would be held. Mary would come by the house at noon to help her dress and to finalize last-minute arrangements. She put on her dressing gown, grabbed her toiletries, and went back into her room. The wedding was scheduled for 3 p.m. in the cathedral, the same cathedral where she and Mary lit candles to St. Anne's and prayed, "Holy St. Anne, bring me a man as fast as you can." The request itself was daring, barely teens as they were, but the demand for it, "as fast as St. Anne can," was what sent them doubling up into fits of giggles on the steps outside the cathedral, emerging as they did into the grey light of the Sligo afternoon, hands over their mouth to stem the added sacrilege of laughing inside a sacred space, fearful that St. Anne might hear them and punish them with a man who would beat them. There on the steps, hanging on to one another, they did break down into laughter, deep, throaty laughter at what they had just dared to request. Sure, she thinks now neither of them would have known then what to do with a man should St. Anne have deigned to send them one. Even now, 10 years later, she hardly knew what to do with the man that had been sent her. She thinks now that it was like talking about sex, asking for a man in a sacred space. But sex was taboo, even for herself and Mary, who had no language to discuss it, to bring it into their lives in any safe way. It would remain the one thing they would never broach head on, the one thing they would allow innuendo and wink eyes to do all the talk necessary. She was torn apart with curiosity, then torn apart with shame for that curiosity. But only to talk, she thinks, only to talk about it. For she was a modest girl, good girl, and knew she cared too much for what people in the town would say to allow herself to walk pregnant up the aisle in an off-white outfit. Sex, she could hardly think of it even now. Leave it be, she thought, it will all work out in the end. Back in her room, she hung the blouse, suit and coat around the room, giving them space to breathe and for any final creases to fall out. She dressed in her ordinary clothes and went back downstairs to mash the tea for the lodgers. She left the breakfast making for her mother and went back upstairs. She had already packed all her clothes and personal belongings into 2 suitcases, and her bottom drawer fit easily into a third. 3 cases for 22 years of life. Did it seem enough? On impulse, she took the curtains off the window and the cover off the bed and packed them in the remaining space in the 3rd suitcase. She wanted to take something of her own life with her, but not much. Only the happy parts, and there seemed few enough of them lately. She went through the spare cards and notes that Paddy had sent her until he had broke off the engagement with her and went back downstairs to the range and shoved them in, waiting until she was sure they were burned to nothing. There was no point in bringing the past with her into her new life. This was it.
Thank you, Bernie. That was wonderful. So, a little bit about Poetry Heights. A couple weeks ago, the owner of this coffee shop saw Victoria and I sitting down, and he knew that we were poets. And he said, "You know what? We should have a poetry show here. Why not?" He said, "You guys host it. Do whatever you want to do with it." And we were like, I don't know, maybe sometime in March, April. Victoria said, "No, we'll do it right now."
Next week.
So I was thrown off, but it's been
I was in
fun.
trouble.
It's been fun. Last week or 2 weeks ago, we had
January 3rd.
it was us and Sheila Black. She was awesome, and then we had a nice open mic. So we have a great list of poets and writers, musicians, and artists that we want to have every Tuesday. So, let us know on Facebook. We have a Facebook page.
Fan page on Facebook under Poetry Heights.
Is there someone you want to see here? A little bit more intimate, let us know, and we'll be glad to contact them too.
We're going to live stream every show. I'm live streaming now, and I record on my phone poems, not the whole poem, so that you can maintain copyrights. And put them on my YouTube channel so that you can share them later. We really wanted to support having a coffee shop in the West Side, which is why we brought all of these dynamic poets here and having an open mic here. Because if this coffee shop goes away, then there's no culture in this corner of town, and that's terrible. It just got here. So I would prefer that, we're having great poets. Carmen Tapoya's lined up. She'll be here on the 31st. Octavio Quintanilla will be here next week. And we actually have commitments from Houston poets. We're going to be growing and growing and growing. So please spread the word, support this coffee shop, support Poetry Heights. We're not doing any of this for monetization. We just want to keep some culture right here in West Side San Antonio. And a good model to follow is our own Rod Stryker, who's been a poet for Sun Poets for 20 years.
I'm just gonna say it. He should be our poet laureate.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say it.
He gets nominated. Yes.
We love
vote for him.
We love the Sun Poets. They're every Wednesday at the Almost Pharmacy, and we've gone to see them for a couple of years now.
Oh, yeah.
When we can. And Rod's always been, I think the first time I met Rod, he had just put out another book, an earlier book. He was just with it. He had everything together. Sun Poets have been going on for now over 20 years. So we're very happy to have Rod here tonight. Without further ado, Rod, Carlos, Rodrigo.
And I am going to spread the word myself, both on Facebook as well as at Sun Poets. So please, guys, keep this going. Thank you so much for starting this. I'm sure it's going to grow. We just got to keep it up. I'm going to read from my 2 books. I think most of you may have a copy of it. If you don't, I have like 4 left. So please grab a copy. Let's read a couple of pieces. This one is from my current one, Native Instincts, and it's a hard piece. It's called Band-Aids and Cement. It frightens her when he lets the pills in silence move his fists in rapid succession against the drywall plaster, paints his knuckles in bloody anger flecked with hopeless white cement. She wraps his enraged scarlet mess in bandages and tears. Again, terrified, resigned to what keeps her imprisoned to his pain and her addiction. And I just got back from a place I think I talked to you guys about earlier, those that were here at first. Every time I go, I always have that same feeling. Every time I go to Hawaii, I always have the same feeling, like it's the land of Saturdays. Every day, Saturday. When we went to the Times supermarket last Monday, ate at the local L&L barbecue 2 weeks ago, next Friday, and on Thursday, took in the view at Poly Lookout. It was Saturday. Visited the Bishop Museum on a windy Sunday, buried our toes in Bellows Beach with a hint of Secret Wednesdays. By chance, enjoy the Giclée art at Sunshine Arts Gallery. Yesterday, it was still Saturday. As the clouds kiss the mountain peaks above the Byodo Inn Temple, or the Ko'olau Mountains reflect the morning sun, next year, next lifetime, it will still be the land of Saturdays. I'm sure many of you have had to write a piece similar to this, because I've been asked this too many times to counsel. What's it like writing poetry? I mean, how do you do that? Why do you do that?
That's a better question.
Yeah.
What it's like. A pound of flesh for every syllable, each consonant. 2 pints of blood for a vowel, a verb. A plow to slice through muscle and sinew for a metaphor, a bit of imagery. Baked in festered sanctity, grown between loosened booby traps that threaten to explode, left in the fields to fend for themselves. This is what it's like for a poem, a poet. And the next couple I'm going to read is from my previous book, Lucid Affairs. And with this one, it was a challenge because I had to try to put together, it almost didn't happen. I decided after Exploits of a Sun Poet was published, which is my first book, I wanted to have each poem to have a photograph. Each poem to have a color photograph. 11 years later, I finally got it done. And Lucid Affairs, this one, and some of you have heard it, I beg your pardon, it's called DJ Wash, Combination Dance Club and Washateria. Spinning and dancing while shirts and panties tumble in dryers, mixed drinks and laundry detergent exchange hands, and as breakbeats pound the folding tables, dancers wave dryer sheets in tandem, women in fishnet move and swing leather-clad hips atop industrial steel washers as strobe lights flash across the only place in town where you can sweat through your clubwear and get them clean at the same time. It's DJ Wash.
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Okay. No preamble. Fun with your demon. Let the meaty demon of your conscience love what it loves. It will anyway ply you with filthy foods that bomb your taste buds into hollowed out shells, staring blankly upon gray landscapes of indigestion and porcelain worship. Give the greedy little miscreant its 15 minutes of crunchy desires, basted with guilt and fear, until it's tuckered out, ready for a nap. And when it's asleep, dreaming demon dreams, give your other half some equally filthy fun. It's only right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Okay, guys, so we're going to take a little break. I know there's some poets in the audience. If you'd like to read some poetry, let me know. We can work it out here in a minute. We do share this a lot on Facebook and Twitter, so let me know if you do want to read. I will make sure that our U.S. Poet Laureate reads it and everybody on Twitter that I can talk to. So we'll be back in 10 minutes, guys. Thank you.